You've tuned into Bellingham Podcast Media Tech for the week of July 4th, our Independence Day in the U.S. 2016, episode 11. I'm AJ Barcay.
And I'm Chris Powell. On this episode, AJ asked the question, is there such a thing as heirloom tech? We'll discuss the merits of BIFL, which has nothing to do with the NFL. And we'll share the locations that make us want to visit I-5 exit 258 Bakerview Road. All that and a whole lot more, brother, next on BPM Tech.
Can you smell what the Chris is cooking?
It's the Hulkster, brother. This is not like the 90s NWO Hulkster or the aughts reality star. This is 80s.
This is
Train,
the yellow and the ripping of the shirts.
Yes, the clothing destroyer.
The clothing
Hulk destroyer.
Yes.
Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. You like the Hulkster. I
have to say, his mustache of that era is just iconic.
Iconic in the fact, also in the 90s, where he had a beard that was black and the golden mustache from the NWO days. I found that to be
with
rather...
With the black bandana on the head?
Yes,
I remember that.
You know, some people aren't embracing the lack of hair in their older age, but God bless Terry Bollea in many decades.
Yeah, I mean, good entertainer in several different instances. But we are in a quiet place today.
Yes, we are not out at the Bellwether, which is an amazing place to go visit if you're in Bellingham. We're not in a coffee shop where it is full of activity. We are not in various locations around downtown Bellingham, and I think we should just leave it at that.
Yeah, we're just in studio, as it were, today, just because every so often we need to detox from the plethora of ambient noise that I have to edit out in each episode. So we're gonna have this is more of, if you're listening to this going, wow, AJ and Chris actually sound really sweet. That's because we do this every so often.
And actually, I think the people listening can hear the voices in my head along with me now. Now that's a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
So welcome to BPM Tech, a little more ambient.
It's the Subdued episode.
Yes, I think so. AJ, what are you drinking?
So I am. I did not forget my drink this time.
Yes.
The drink that I'm drinking is actually tea. It's a Washington-based tea called Market Spice. So if you're a tea drinker, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not a tea drinker, it's a black tea that has cinnamon and other spices wrapped into it. It originally came from Pike Place, so hence why it's Market Spice. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who drink it for the first time have either one of two reactions. The first one is, wow, this tea is really good because it tastes... I don't ever put any sugar in it. It's one of the few teas that I won't.
You're already sweet enough.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Typically I put honey in my tea, but this is one of the few teas that I don't put any sweetener in because just the oils that they put in, because it's also got some orange, like an orange oil in it, and cinnamon, and I don't know, probably some other stuff that comes from the ground. But it's just naturally good. Now that's the first reaction. The second reaction is you drink it and you're like, oh my gosh, I think I just drank a hot tamale, because it can be, I make it very strong. Oh. So it is very cinnamon and orangey flavored. It's my hot Pacific Northwest nectar.
Manly, yes, and AJ likes it too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Instead of going to in lieu of going to Pie Place Market to get the Market Spice tea, is there someplace around where one can purchase it?
Totes. My herbologist is how I call her. Wonderland Teas down. I think it's on Railroad, downtown Bellingham. Yep.
We'll have to put a link in the show notes for that.
I love that wonderful woman that runs that shop. If you want to have teas or spices or heck, even if you have a question about what to have, like for instance, my wife was having cramps one day, and I went down to her and I'm just like, my wife is having cramps today, and so she hooked me up with cramp bark and cut it with a tea and mixed this whole thing. I got a couple ounces and it was like a couple of bucks, and it's a natural way of doing things, and so she is my tea hookup. More than any other place.
A local business owner providing a great service, who knows your name and provides a great service. This is great.
Yeah, no, she's wonderful. I've heard that she also, like, for instance, medical practitioners who need salves for medical reasons, she has all the herbs, and she's the one that makes them for some medical practitioners here in town. So
Wonderland Tea is a source with multi purposes.
That is Wonderland Teas. I just love that place.
Very cool, very cool. And unfortunately, I forgot to bring a container or
you
get
pulled
something.
Me.
Yes, I pulled a you. So I will have a cotton mouth by the time we're all done with this. And so I'm rolling without liquid refreshment.
So I'm going to jump in and kick off the episode because last episode, something you said, like, I don't know, triggered a reaction where it made me just grok and had my gears grinding.
It's a splinter in your mind.
It is a splinter in my mind. And you mentioned BIFL.
Yes.
Buy it for life.
It's a great concept.
It is. And so I wanted to dedicate this episode to the splinter in my mind, Chris Powell. This concept that you brought up, buy it for life, and the fact that you and I are techs, and technology is like rated in dog years.
Yeah.
One tech year is more like 7 years in the normal universe, right? You buy something and about 12 months later, it's already 7 years dated.
Mm-hmm.
This episode I want to talk about, is there a resurgence going back to getting things handmade, handcrafted, things that people buy once and take care of, or are we just getting more and more consumerist society? Go. All
right. So I initially started my buy it for life dalliances with a purchase from a company called Saddleback Leather. They're based out of Texas, and I bought a messenger bag with some fundage. And yeah, when you buy it for life, you're not buying something that would be really cheap. These are some pricey premium, costs for the goods. And that bag was wonderful. It was incredibly durable, incredibly robust, and you could see the care that went into it. Even down to the stitching. There were some burly strings, threads, thank you, in how it was stitched together. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Now I've since moved on, because while you can buy it for life, my attention span is not one for the rest of my life. I got to see what else is out there.
Right.
And then I've gone from getting a couple knives in the kitchen that you take care of.
Any brand specifically?
I believe it's Henkel's.
German?
I'll get a link in the show notes. Yes, but I really don't look at the brand as I'm looking at the knife. But anyway,
right. The comfort, the actual material.
Yes.
I gotcha.
And so I have seen a couple. Combine that with a couple documentaries that I've seen regarding waste that our society is producing, and how we really don't have football games right next to a dump, where we don't have, it's kind of like shuffled away from the mindset of society. And it's like, we're throwing away a lot of stuff. And it's not like you can eliminate things just by giving it to Goodwill. They also have to eliminate things as well. And so get something, utilize it, enjoy it, get good use out of it, and then pass it on to the next generation.
So on that note of passing it on to the next generation, like if you look 100 years ago, technology was seen as this a generational thing that was passed down, an heirloom. Okay, you think about furniture.
Yep.
Okay, and now we have IKEA. Not to bash IKEA. I mean, there's some good stuff that IKEA makes. Matter of fact, my countertop, that beautiful butcher block, is solid. They call it Hamarp. It's a solid wood thing, and I've cured it and made it a piece. But there's a lot of particle board these days, MDF. There's a lot of sawdust that we call wood, right? Do you feel that technology is making things better or worse for us?
I think technology is making things more convenient and accessible for us. As far as making things better, sure, you can create a CNC design of a product, but if the raw materials that are going into a product are not durable and cost a premium, or if they don't pay a lot for the raw materials, that savings is passed on to the consumer. Well, the consumer won't find a lot of use, as opposed to 1916, when a wooden dining table was handmade in a factory by a fella, Phil McCluskey.
Good old McCluskey.
Right. And these guys are making them one at a time. They didn't have the assembly line, dun, 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 as everything's going down. And there is an attention to detail and an attention to the product. Case in point, I'm a musician. Fender guitars back in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Gibson. They did not have an assembly line where computers and programmable saws, cut the bodies and morphed them. There was a person that was doing that. And there's a reason why a 57 Fender Stratocaster guitar is worth a pretty decent down payment on a home versus the one you find now when it's mass quantity produced. So I'd say to answer your question in a rambling fashion, I would say technology has probably made things more convenient, less expensive, but probably not for the long haul. And so this consumer society where we turn and burn, and I think that's probably where things are headed. And there may be, this BIFL mindset, there may be a return to quality as opposed to quantity.
Well, but so riddle me this. Do you feel that anything that has a lower price than the 1920s is any less, or can it be any less possible of an heirloom piece of technology? Because I have, early 1990s Fender's guitars that have lifetime warranties by Fender. Matter of fact, both of them have been serviced by Fender because they've had problems, bridge lifting, But in today's consumer society, do you feel that companies are hiding behind their, quote, lifetime warranty to make it a lifetime product, whereas before we didn't have that issue, or two separate topics?
The opinions expressed in the following comment are not necessarily those of AJ Barcet. So I think that the lifetime warranty is a wonderful piece of marketing that someone came up with in those fast-talking commercials in the 70s and 80s where you had a 1-800 number to call with $4.95 shipping and handling. I think that it's a tough question, but it's definitely possible that in the 90s, I could take care of an iOmega Zip disc.
I just worked on one of those. Don't bring that up.
Okay. Well, I mean, something from the 1980s, let's take a floppy disk, a plastic floppy disk. I could put that in a steel container that is non-rusting, and I can set it aside, and it will still be in that pristine shape years down the line when I unearth it. The object of buying these things is to get use out of them, to get enjoyment. As you use things more and more, the reliability will break down quicker, in my opinion, with mass-produced items. There are certain types of woods. There are certain types of leather. There are certain types of fabric. Cotton shirts, we all go through them in about a 6-month life cycle. You get something that is breathable, name the marketing tool, dry fit, et cetera, et cetera. Those will last a while. And those, there's more care, but you're also paying a premium. So it's a trade-off. I don't think that one would, unless if you have an emotional value connected with that Poison 1986 Look What the Cat Dragged In tour t-shirt, I don't think it's going to be relevant or wearable, in society. It may not be in the best condition 30 years from now or 60 years from now, having purchased it. Did that answer your question?
No, totally. So where I'm getting at is, so I kind of agree with you. Part of what we have shifted in the marketplace is, one, this concept of we can make it cheaper by backing it with a warranty. Does that make the product any better or worse? Well, it kind of comes back to the brand, like what that brand puts into the manufacturing to get go. But also, you kind of hit on fashion. I was just recently listening to another podcast, and they were talking about the catwalk folks, the people that do the Milan fashion show, New York fashion show, and these people that are tailors and seamstress, fashionistas, the people, the designers, okay? I don't mean like the big, like Ralph Lauren, I mean the actual small and up and comers who rely on these shows to have their product viewed so that people see it and want to have that as part of their fashion statement. There's a new term being derived called fast fashion, where these people that are putting a lot of forethought into their product, their design, and getting it up on the catwalk, Macy's or the big box stores are basically knocking it off before it even hits the runway. And by the time that fashionista who puts in the time and labor of love, as it were, before they can even get their product out, it's already been knocked off. So, I mean, in today's technological age, the flip side of this is, do you feel that also with us being so plugged in and being able to see everything with a Google search, do you feel that our perceptions of what a lifetime product is Do you feel it's going to go the way of fast fashion? Just every time I have a feeling, I'm going to have a different desire of what something looks like or feels like or whatever?
I'm feeling pastel this morning, and that's why I want to get my.
Oh, look, Amazon free shipping. I can have it in 3 days.
Exactly.
That's the part I'm talking about with this buy it for life. Is our mentality shifting away from the concept of buying something and keeping it for life?
Having the endorphin rush of getting something like Wile E. Coyote in the cartoons where he puts something in the mailbox and wham, it shows up to try to get the Roadrunner.
Yeah.
That immediacy of accessing resources is quite addictive. Mm-hmm. And if we grow used to it, we're becoming to expect it everywhere. And that is where things have been headed. Mm-hmm. I would gladly. So there was a project that I had with a friend of mine where he purchased a block of Purple Heart wood, a hardwood, and a block of monkey pod wood, and he had, with his know-how, meaning mainly he, but he asked my opinion on it every step of the way, created a guitar, an electric guitar.
He's a luthier?
He is a luthier.
Wow.
And this was a year and a half to 2 years of Saturday mornings. I go over to my buddy's house, during this time because family. I want to spend time with my family, but I also want to dedicate to this. And we went through it every step of the way. We both, it was a dedicated process, and I still have that guitar, and I'm never letting that go. You cannot put a price tag on something of handmade quality that takes its time. Mm-hmm. And the more that there are those, around us that are expecting to have something right now, they're not willing to wait. And there are providers, there are creators, there are merchants that will provide things that we can get right now to fix that need. Great line from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The Coen Brothers movie. George Clooney is a Dapper Dan man. I can't have fop for my hair. I want my Dapper Dan. Oh, we don't have that here. Might get it in about 2 weeks. That was de rigueur. That was what everyone got used to back in the day, a century ago, I think. I wasn't around in the century. Yeah. Can we predict what will last a lifetime in technology, seeing as how fast things have progressed? Probably not. I can't predict what's going to happen 5 years from now with a lightning port for an iPhone or a wireless induction Q charger for an Android phone. So technology is a wild card. We have no Magic Gate crystal ball to be able to look and see what's going on. Clothing, actual, like analog materials, paper with notebooks, pens that have refillable ink, leather, wood, stainless steel. Those are what can last a theoretical lifetime.
Oh, I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yes.
So that dovetails into the only one news story I was going to plug into this show, and that is the Runcible, or the company's name is Monome, and they've made what's called the Runcible. And it's a funky spelling. That at least that's how I understand that it's pronounced as Runcible. It is, you can go to, it's mono.hm. And what they are claiming, and it's built here in the U.S., is that they're making the anti-smartphone, the anti-smartwatch, as it were.
That'll make headlines.
It is. So what it is that they're branding it the first piece of heirloom technology that we've had in a long time. Heirloom, I'm putting on air quotes for those not watching us. And when they said heirloom tech, immediately I think back to the days of, mechanical watches. There are some Vacherons and some Patek Philippe's that are still running that are a century old. And that was true heirloom technology. I argue the first piece of heirloom technology was a watch. And that's what they're building it off of, is it's a pocket watch. It's a touchscreen, smart, quote-unquote, pocket watch. But what's interesting is the philosophy that this company's putting into this product. The building of it is user serviceable. It's a mobile device that they say can be, the parts can be removed by the end user with a little bit of know-how. The back is wood. It's reclaimed wood, and you can pick a variety of woods. Or they also have I might be getting this wrong, a nautical plastic. I'm not 100% sure what that was. But when you look at this, it's a round device with a camera on the back so you can take pictures. They have gesture controls. You can actually shake it left or right, and that will actually give it a command of activating the camera or whatnot.
Interesting.
Different pocket watch, quote-unquote, faces on this touchscreen device. But what's also interesting is the services they're building in. They have a map app that's built in. The map app does not give you the fastest directions from point A to point B. It gives you the most scenic, or it gives you the most, I'll call it human approach to getting from point A to point B.
That's some countercultural logic.
Exactly. And that's the basis of this podcast episode I wanted to go, because you really hit on the head last episode of this Buy It for Life. Here is a company, it's a Kickstarter, that is trying to remind us, or perhaps show us, are we going too fast? I mean, everybody, every 12 months, we all know, WWDC happens if you're an Apple user. We all know that every 11 months, I think, 'cause it happens before the Apple announcements, is Google I/O. At which point we see what the latest and greatest, faster, better, stronger, you've heard it before, in technology. However, you and I both know, unless you are a buddy of ours that works up on campus, it is harder than heck to get into our mobile devices to do any kind of work or service.
Yep.
You have to have some really small, watchmaker tools look big compared to some of the stuff that I've seen our colleague Josh use. But it's one of those things where I remember the days, last podcast I mentioned this, I remember the days in my dad's garage, I had parts from every podunk piece of PC or Mac that I could get a hold of to make a Frankenstein machine, just to see it work for about 15 minutes until a capacitor usually popped, and then I rip it all apart and do it all over again. And in today's day and age, I kind of see it as the analogy to that in today's day and age is kids are learning code, and there is some value in that. But, making something that is software versus what we're talking about, making something that's tangible. Do you see them as the same? Do you see them as different? Do you see it, what do you see, Mr. Powell?
As far as, will technology be passed down a generation later?
Yeah. Can code be passed down generationally? Is there any value in it?
Depending if you're still using Fortran or COBOL to accomplish some kind of work, I'm seeing.
I was doing a Gopher search on this before.
Gopher, yes. Was this on the link?
Yes.
Or the links
right.
Web browser?
Yeah. I'm going to fire up my Mosaic browser after this for you.
Let me go into my CompuServe channel to be able to reply to that.
Keyword BPM.
Yeah, that's it. So technology is just so fast and such a quick turnover as far as what is accessible. And I don't see, like, an heirloom is something that's passed on from generation to generation. For a while, here's a tangent. My parents had a dining table. It's made out of bird's eye maple.
Whew.
Yeah. And this was my dining table that my mom grew up on as a child. And before that was another one. This is like 2 generations of kids have been raised on this dining table. Solid wood, expandable to seat 12. It was just solid as a rock. Yeah. And that type of, I think maybe let's put it this way, with something as so small as a tech device, like a phone or a pocket watch or a smartwatch, it's so small. Can that last 30 years? The operating system is going to be updated. With wood, unless you expose it to a bunch of woodpeckers or termites, it's going to be around for a long time.
Hashtag woodpeckers, hashtag termites.
That's right. Thank you very much. I don't see at this point, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't see technology.
Would you?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't see technology becoming something that we pass down from generation to generation. We're all evolving at the same time. We all went from basic in programming a little triangle and logo to go and make a geometric shape to now Swift Playground, where we're watching a dude kind of run up and down.
Play a game to learn code.
Yeah, but we're also conditioning our minds in different ways of logical thinking and strategy, which is a great tool, but I don't think Swift Playground is going to be around when my daughter is going to have grandkids.
When she's doing a podcast with cerebral implants.
Well, it's more like the holographic, mind meld with everything. Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I think heirlooms, more and more things the tastes change.
Right.
Interests change to how something looks, but we're always going back in this circular process of what was old is new again. And
it's vintage, Chris.
Vintage. And a Schwinn bike without gears was vintage back when we were little shavers, and now look at it, we're seeing grown people commuting it with it. I don't see that happening. How about you?
Well, I don't know. That's why I wanted to bring this topic up, is because I kind of feel that technology is kind of a double-edged sword. I like the fact that the maker movement is getting traction. The concept that people who are tinkerers and the technology is coming down to an affordable price point, and the knowledge of how to use that. You don't have to be a master miller and have to have this several $1,000 CNC machine that, if one part goes out, you're going to have to contact somebody in Germany to get it made.
It might be back. It might be here in 2 weeks.
Might be here in 2 weeks type of thing. I like the idea that we have, Ultimakers and MakerBots that are able to allow people to prototype and make things. But at the same time, I'm kind of struggling with this concept because, it is made out of plastic. It's only prototyping. Yes, you can get it casted or use different machines, but I don't know. I'm kind of toiling over the concept of we kind of have this generational gap of we lost people making stuff. Now we have a resurgence of it. But now we've gotten to the point where people want things now, faster, stronger, better than before. Are we just making to make more? And as opposed to making and keeping,
maybe as society is experiencing this new era of creation, we are able to focus that in areas that are needed. Now, to get a 3D printer to make a ligament that can be, or a hip that can be enabling someone to live another 15 or 20 years in comfort.
That's literally a lifetime product.
There you go.
That's the thing is that I see those instances and it excites me as a technologist. Mm-hmm. That stuff is cool. But at the same time, like, I don't know, making a whole bunch of trinkets, like I mentioned on the last show, like if you go to the Statue of Liberty, you go get a little trinket, it's made in China, but you were at the Statue of Liberty. I feel like some people have lost the concept of experience. And that's the thing. When you have a lifetime product, something that you're carrying, you have experience with it. You talk to any adventurer, okay, whether it's the guy who summited Mount Everest for the first time, or Denali, or any of these adventurers. I'm just going to pick them because we all, especially little boys, right? We all see adventurers and they're our icons. They're like, wow, I want to dog sled the Iditarod. Mm-hmm. All of these people usually have like a watch, and it's part of their marketing and stuff. You look at the Rolex Explorer, that there's a lot of marketing around adventure and pioneering in their stuff, but it's also a tool. Like those people relied on the fact that kept good time. And on top of that, every nick, I'll pick on another one, the Rolex Submariner, the most knocked off watch in probably the world. The guy that you see in the back alley with the big trench coat and they open it up and they have all the watches.
Want to buy a watch?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are usually knockoffs of like the Rolex Submariner. And, if you buy a vintage Submariner, it's probably more expensive than buying a brand new Submariner. And it's interesting because as an artist, I mean, this is part of what I do when I sell my photography, is the story behind it is more important than just the print that you get. Mm-hmm. With a watch, every scuff, everything that watch went through, its story is what you buy as a watch collector. And that, maybe there's a generational gap. I don't see that in the younger generation.
That is on the minds of a generation. But I want to go back to, but they will learn in time. I have faith in this. They will learn that there is more than just the device.
Sure.
I'm clinging to that hope.
You're going to hang your retirement on it?
I'm hoping that things will take a turn for a love of knowledge and a love of tangible things as opposed to immediacy. Going back to what you were talking about in makerspace, in the where are we headed with that? I think, which goes against Buy It for Life, but I think for the materials that can be made in a maker setup, this can level the playing field for many that may not have resources to be able to acquire what we are easily able to afford. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that this can level that playing field, and so therefore everybody can have X, and it's cheap to make, and there's not a huge investment. Where allow everyone to have the experience, but for those that are able to make the decision to be able to invest, it's a mindset, and it's taking up less resources in the long run, because you won't need to remake.
True.
To replace certain materials that may break due to use.
True. No, and I get that. And part of the making aspect is that you're gaining skills, or if you can't, I mean, if a part doesn't exist, you make it. So yeah. I see the value in it. It's just for me, I don't know, it's just been a topic I've been wrestling with as a technologist because, most of what we talk about on the show is, things about today's contemporary, technology, and we talk about trends. And one of the trends that frightens me is this whole concept that we're making a lot, but we're not gaining a lot is kind of my feeling. For instance, photography. Part of my Patreon, as you know, is I actually handcraft on a typewriter, as you mocked me when we went to the Union.
It wasn't mocking, it was marveling at the aspect of it. It's such it's so unique, but go ahead.
Right. And it's not because it's hipster or anything. There's a story behind it. And I develop a photo, on instant film. And that whole aspect of it, and the patrons that back me at that, they see the value in that. But at the same time, I'm still posting on Instagram. I'm posting for the instant gratification. But here's the ratio I see. I'll have maybe 2 patrons that see the value in what I do. We'll call it the slow photo movement, as opposed to slow food, slow photo movement, versus the instant gratification. I will get 100 likes on Instagram for a photo. I'll get 2 people on my Patreon that see the value in that small print, and the fact that I actually it's a digital, it is a physical photo from a digital camera, and the process that goes into it. It's that that ratio that kind of concerns me. Technologists who also appreciate the analog, we can see both sides. Most consumers, 12 months, I want to re-up my iPhone.
That is due, I would say that is due to some really world-class marketing to get inside people's heads and to tweak the insecurities or the anxieties people have about themselves and what they're not. Of course, a company wants you to keep buying their goods. That's why it's such a low cost to get a Gillette shaver and a couple blades. And then when you like it and you're using it, well, you get hit with a big cost to get trained in this annual or biannual replacement cycle. That's excellent marketing, although that's not reality, because most smartphones, with an asterisk.
I wish everyone could have seen the eye roll and shaking of the head of Chris Powell right then. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Most smartphones now can last 4 years to do its primary functions: make a call, send a text message,
and check the email,
and to check email. But and to take photos.
Sure.
Like those are the top 4 things that a phone would normally be purchased.
Sure.
But now we are editing video. Now we're recording.
I want 4K.
Yes, I can't have 720p. Get out of here. I want 4K. I want 8K. I want 32K video editing. I want to have it holographed and tattooed on my eyelids. No.
Tattooed on my eyelids.
Yeah. We have to disengage from this immediacy response. We're on a treadmill. We're on the hamster wheel. We have to stop. And I'm getting on my soapbox now, ladies and gentlemen. It's important to get that mindset that take a breath, appreciate what you have. If you're going to make a purchase, save up, make sure you get the right thing. So, and I'm the biggest hypocrite when it comes to this, because I go down all these routes to try to explore, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? And every time that I drop a great deal of coin on an item, I'm never regretting it.
Well, the other thing I would also throw out to that is, things. I think we've gotten too reliant on our things. We want, things. And for me, like, the whole purpose of photography isn't the gear that I carry. Hashtag see my blog.
Yes.
It is, I'm out and I'm doing things, I'm capturing things, I'm retelling those stories. Every moment has a story is my tagline. And when I travel, perfect example, I was in Paris. I was at the Louvre. The Louvre. This is a place that I have wanted to visit since I was like 12.
Bucket list thing, right?
Ever since I understood. Well, as a kid, I was like, the Louvre?
The Louvre?
The Louvre? Like, what is... And it's the Louvre. I don't... There's an R. Like, I don't understand this. But, as I grew up and I got cultured and understood, what was in that building. There's the Mona Lisa, which the stories behind the Mona Lisa are just fabulous. The fact that that painting has made people commit suicide. It is a piece of art that elicits so much response. There are stories through the centuries behind that thing. And so, of course, like I am a photographer, and I have plenty of kit with me when I travel. But when I was going through the Louvre, most of my shots, you'll see of the outside of the Louvre. You don't see me taking picture of a picture. Now, with that said, my friend who is from Nantes, she's in Paris at the time, she warned me. She goes, AJ, I know that you are Italian. I want you to realize when you go there, the people that are disrespecting the Mona Lisa, this is not disrespecting you and your heritage. And I didn't understand what she was saying. She was just giving me a heads up. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean they're disrespecting my heritage? She goes, they're not Parisian, they're not French. You'll understand. And so I go, and I mean, I see Winged Victory, which was on my bucket list. And I just recently, I saw it the week after it was debuted and restored because they found extra pieces. And the and if you don't know what the Winged Victory is, Google Winged Victory of Samothrace. And the moment you see that statue and it's a statue without a head, you will immediately want to put the Louvre on your bucket list, whether you're an art freak or not, because you see this statue and it just takes your breath away. This is a piece of marble where the ripples of this gown on this winged silhouette of a person, you literally looks like it's gossamer and it's stone. And on top of that, it is a lot bigger than you think, whereas the Mona Lisa is a lot smaller than you think. So getting to the Mona Lisa, I get there and there's a horde of people, which I expected. I mean, I'm at the Louvre.
That's
right?
the main event.
And I kid you not, there's not a photo of it because I had my camera with me and it was in my bag. And I stood there in the middle of the crowd. I was the only one looking at the Mona Lisa. Now, everybody else was too, through a smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Selfie time?
Everybody was either selfieing, they were either taking a picture of a picture, but nobody there was appreciating what that work was. And that was a shame for me. And it was eye-opening because I got what my friend Celine was talking about. It's just people go there and they're rude. They're pushed. Like literally, I'm standing there. I had this little kid like push me to whip out their iPhone 5S, 6, whatever the thing was at the time. Didn't say excuse me. Didn't say pardon. Didn't say anything. Whipped out the phone and just like, Snapchatting away the Mona Lisa. Nobody there except for me was actually appreciating. Well, and the guards too, making sure nobody was going to bum rush the Mona Lisa. But that was the first little thing in the back of my brain that just made me realize that, a lot of photographers we talk about, like, photography has become devalued because everybody has a smartphone. Everybody can take a photo, but not everybody can capture a moment. That's my argument. And the things that people are taking photos of, we take a photo, they put it on their phone, they Snapchat it, and they never look at it again. Nobody wants to remember the moment they were there. They want to take it and they want to brag about it, but they don't actually want to reminisce about it. Or you live through what the photo is and not living in the moment. Now I got on my soapbox.
May we arrive at a place where we can exchange our things for experiences.
That's what I'm hoping.
And right there, you just saw me drop the microphone.
Well, I hope not. I have to edit that out.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's talk about something Bellingham related.
Okay. So
shall we?
Yes. So that enough of Buy It for Life.
It's a great topic. I love it. It was a great discussion.
It was your topic.
But yes, it was. I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. Now, let's go to I-5, exit 258, Bakerview Road. This is the last I-5 exit in Bellingham's city limits. AJ Barcet, geek at large, raconteur, photographer, internationally famous photographer. What is your favorite spot to descend upon on Bakerview Road?
So on the I-50.
Yes, on the I-5.
And you hit the Bakerview Road because that is very French.
Rue de Bakerview.
Rue de Bakerview.
All right, reel it in.
So I'm going to actually throw out a recommendation for a restaurant. It is, I believe it's a chain, but it's a smaller chain. It's called Lorenzo's, a family Mexican restaurant. My wife and I stumbled upon it probably 5 years ago. And so anyway, and we've bounced around Bellingham, and Bellingham has some quaint, Mexican eats. outside of the food trucks are awesome in
Yes, they
Bellingham,
are.
but I'm talking about restaurants.
On Bakerview Road.
On Bakerview Road. So Lorenzo's Mexican restaurant, you go in and first of all, the bill will be very affordable. You will not leave hungry. And the food is remarkable. The wait staff is pleasant. Matter of fact, we went there so many times that some of the wait staff actually remember us,
Check.
Yes.
That's part of the checklist.
Seriously, like their salsa, my wife could literally drink their salsa right out of the bowl. Like sans chips. The chips are fresh. They do not come out of a bag. I am 99.9% sure. You order fresh, literally you could go into Lorenzo's. You could order the guacamole fresco. You could have their salsa and chips and ask for the bill and you would be full. Like it is fresh. It is fantastic. And so I can't rave enough about awesome Mexican food in Bellingham on Bakerview, Rue de Bakerview.
I think that's right in the heart of the traffic mess.
Yes, it is. So if you're trying to figure out where on Bakerview is AJ talking about, if you know where Barnes & Noble is,
Yes.
and you are at
that
four-way intersection and you head up that hill past Barnes & Noble, you head up towards the hill, you got Petco on your right. Walgreens on your right. On your left, right across the way is the small little Mexican sign that says Lorenzo's. Stop in and get some good eats.
All right.
What about you, Mr. Powell?
So I admire the ode that you gave to Lorenzo's. On Bakerview Road, there's a lot of places around. You could go to the airport. That's great. They've got Gasoline Alley, which is this intersection with 3 gas stations out of 4 on this traffic light. But I'm thinking of families. I'm thinking of something that doesn't involve a microbrewery drink fest on the weekends, for a place to take the kids, for a place to take yourself. I am a fan of Five Guys Burgers and Fries in the Fred Meyer zone on Bakerview. Now,
that wasn't on our list. That's a
it's
good
right
pick.
It's right there,
dude.
I
missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you're going to plug Five Guys.
Of course
That's cool.
I am. Well, it's a different type of food place.
Yeah.
It is so I'm going against my normal MO because this is a chain.
Yeah.
This is a franchise.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of shocked. I'm like, really? Where was that in the notes?
I have just found there's something fun about Five Guys Burgers and Fries. As you enter in, the first time I entered in, there was a loud talking smart aleck that was just jibber jabbering with everybody. It doesn't matter if it was the staff, working staff, or the people waiting for the food, or the people sitting and eating the food. It was a free for all, and it was great. It was entertaining to have shelled peanuts available where you could put them on the floor, but we are evolved. We'll put them back into a tray and throw them away.
Some of us are evolved.
Yes. And not only can you order a burger bigger than the size of your head with everything or all the way or something. There's many.
Arrest.
That's right. There's ways to order a burger, but it's not a 12-page menu where you get decision fatigue.
Grits, and grits.
You got burgers. But what can give you decision fatigue is the soda fountain that pick what soda you want and then what flavor you want. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the heart of my pick for Five Guys Burgers.
Soda tech, that's what
Soda tech, the permutations of what type of drink it will take a long time, and your spleen and your kidneys will fail before you can accomplish all of those different combinations of flavors of drinks. In the Fred Meyer area, probably soon to be across the street from Costco.
That's right.
Yes, and I'm not going to talk about that. But Five Guys Burgers and Fries on Bakerview towards right close to the off-ramp on there. So
no, totally. I've been to Five Guys once, and the only reason why I was brought there is because they're like, "Have you seen the soda machine?" And I'm like, "I've seen lots of soda." No, you have not seen this soda machine. And since then, I've been to other places that do have the same thing. But it was a spectacle the first time I saw it. I'm like, I was doing the math, and you have 90 combinations of soda pop that can come out of this thing. And if I had a little kid. Well, I will be soon. That would just be a spectacle,
That would be the zombie or graveyard to end all graveyards.
Right? So, So anyway, what about listener voicemail? How would people get a hold of us? Because I mean, we did just rant for 45 minutes about how technology is going to kill us all, and we're just killing the earth. But if somebody wanted to disagree or agree with us, how would they get a hold of us, Chris?
Sure, call 1-800-SKYNET, and we could. No, I'm just kidding.
Sarah Jessica Connor just left a message.
Yes, for those of you that would love to. Have got a couple minutes and want to send us some feedback about the show, give us some questions about what you're currently lamenting or being driven up the wall about with your current tech, give us a call. Area code 201-731-8324, 201-731-TECH. And leave us a nice voicemail. We like getting nice voicemails. We appreciate all the comments and feedback we've gotten so far for the Bellingham Podcast Media Tech podcast. I'm thrilled that we are in episode 11. This is a treat and a half, but we'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you'd like to have us talk about. What's on your mind? That
is 10 episodes over the top of what you wanted when we started this,
exactly.
By the
way. honestly, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I just wanted to have one podcast that I could upload to say, look, I have my voice on the internet. And look, here's 11:12 with IRL.
Yeah.
And a little random voicemail excerpt. I'm so thrilled to be doing this. So
challenge accepted.
Give us a voicemail. Tell us how we're doing. Give us some tech questions and such. So as we're wrapping up, AJ, we normally talk about an app that we have on our phones that we're enjoying. What's a piece of tech that you buy for life?
I'm recommending it from a philosophical standpoint. We're in this age, like we were just ranting about, where we want things and we want continuous things, and a lot of software is going the way of subscription, where you don't own your software anymore. And that, as a tech, disturbs me. And I get the reasoning and I get the benefits to the developer, and I have no qualms with paying a developer for their hard work that they put into a piece of software that I use as a tool. With that said, the Adobe Creative Cloud, full disclosure, I'm an Adobe certified trainer, and I'm also one of the first people that will tell Adobe that I think they're going about it all wrong. And one of the things that has gone downhill since they went to the Creative Cloud is, yes, they put out a lot of updates, but there's no added benefit to their tool anymore. And on top of that, it's a tool that's getting in my way. And so a lot of what I talk about on my Patreon and on my blog is alternatives to it. And there's a company, I believe they're a UK-based company called Serif, as in like font, serif. And they have two apps that are part of what's called their Affinity Suite. They have Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. And they're basically Photoshop and Illustrator. They're for the Mac, and I'll get to the PC side in a second. But Affinity is what I remember as good old Photoshop, like Photoshop 8 and Illustrator 11. Like when it was pure, it was a tool that just you could create. If you knew what you're trying to design, those two tools, I still remember. As a matter of fact, I probably have a legitimate copy somewhere in some box in my attic. Those were my two Photoshop and Illustrator additions. And Affinity took me right back to it, and it is fast. I can get my work done. And a lot of people, I use it as a tool to show, like, you don't have to quote Photoshop as a verb something. That's just a product. There are a lot of photo manipulation applications, and the Affinity Suite is great. They're about $50 a pop. So for $100, you can own a copy of Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer, and you can make your art that you're trying to do on the Creative Cloud for possibly $50 a month.
So I haven't heard of the company Serif.com.
I'll put a link in the show notes. I can't remember. I think it is serif.com, but it might be an international domain. I can't remember.
How?
And they're available in the Mac App Store.
Mac App Store,
Yep.
all the better. Look ahead 5 or 10 years as far as digital photo editing and or creation, modification. Do you see Serif is along those lines in that near future crystal ball? I
think so. And the thing is that like Adobe, because here's the proof in the pudding, and a lot of people may disagree with me on my views on Adobe.
Send us a voicemail if you disagree with AJ.
Adobe has been stagnant. And because of that, we've seen a lot of players in that space to take away from their market hold, strangling, Hulk smash that they have on the creative sphere. And Seraph is one that's capitalizing. Another one is Phase One, who does what's called Capture, which is kind of a Lightroom alternative. We are starting to see a lot more tools designed for artists by artists to take up the stagnant void that Adobe has kind of rest on their laurels about. And so, yes, I do kind of see them being there in the next 10 years in some form or another. What's great, and the proof in the pudding in that is that because they originally got started for the Mac, they have announced, and I've kind of been in the inside track on it, they have a beta now for the PC of Affinity Designer.
Very good.
And they also have a beta for Affinity Photo. And I know there's a few people that are looking for a Photoshop replacement for the PC that have been salivating for that, because if they can release it at the same price that they do for the Mac, $50, and you buy it once, as opposed to, like I said, if you look up the Creative Cloud pricing, you know, even if you buy it, use it for 6 months, you've already saved money as opposed to putting it into the Creative Cloud.
Sounds good. I'm all about cross-platform. This is part of this Master Key app that I've been dancing around with in some of my writings. But great recommendation. That's definitely something to check out. I'm also of the software buy it for life mindset, because I was thinking about hardware, like what hardware will we be seeing 60 years down the line? Harken back to our previous discussion. I don't see monitors, perhaps, if they have the right plugins, but we found that within a 10-year gap, some may not work with modern architecture. I got to go with software as well. If you're on a Mac, you don't need Word.
Wait, what?
You heard me. You don't need Pages.
What?
You don't need Google Docs. To write a document, to compose a document, there's a free piece of software on your Mac called TextEdit. It creates .txt, plain text files. So far, since the mid-90s, now we're going on about 20 years now, a text file, .txt, is able to be opened by every platform today. So far, this is the only one other than a .txt file has staying power. Now, on the Windows side, you go to Start button or whatever it is this week, go to and type in notepad.exe, you can create a text file. It's a simple document. It does not have the bloat that Word or Pages or Google Docs have. You don't need to be on the internet. You just need to have the computer powered on. If you're on a laptop, you don't need to have Wi-Fi. It'll be right there for you. Type, create, produce, write your thoughts, unburden your soul in a .txt file. So for Mac, TextEdit, for Windows, Notepad. I think they've got staying power, and I don't see the .txt extension becoming irrelevant in the near future.
And I think both of our recommendations, Affinity is a newer product, but it kind of goes back to, like I just said, the old school Photoshop, the old school Illustrator. You're talking about old school text, the one step above a typewriter, to which you mocked me.
Yes, I wasn't mocking. It was admiration.
But no.
You're bringing this device into a coffee shop, AJ, and no one else has that.
Yes.
You stand out.
But what I'm saying is that
and you're sticking to your guns, and you're sticking to your principles. I commend thee, not mock thee. Stop it.
No, I think this whole podcast is kind of dedicated towards essentialism, not minimalism, essentialism.
I love that term.
What are you trying to do, and how are you trying to achieve it? And just because there's fancy marketing behind it doesn't mean it makes you any more creative or the tool doesn't make it any better. It just means that they're better at marketing.
Well said.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
Cool. That wraps up for this edition of Bellingham Podcast Media Tech. If you wanted to stalk Chris Powell, how might I go about that?
I would say lots of ways. I would say type in Chris Powell, and if you hit enter, you'll get a really handsome, tanned, toned, extreme weight loss coach.
Wait, that's not you.
That's not me. If you added Chris Powell Bellingham, that's me. I got the top hits on that. So yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on I've been actually working on a project. If I could do a shameless plug. So this is probably something we might talk about in a future episode. But here in Whatcom County, there's a lot of professionals, a lot of business people, and I started a website called WhatcomWorkflow.com that is an in-depth look at the technology and tools Whatcom County professionals use to get their work done. and I've had a chance to interview a number of professionals and started a website. I'm writing a couple tech articles relating to kind of just sharing knowledge and best practices or things to consider. So if you get a chance, check out walkandwearforlow.com. That's me.
Awesome.
AJ, how can someone find you on the net?
They can find me at Twitter or Instagram at AJ Barce, or you can, if you're a fan of photography or you want to learn a little bit more about photography, or if you wanted to, see what I was talking about with the whole Affinity versus Adobe thing, you can become a Patreon patron and support me in my art, and that is at Patreon, patreon.com/AJ Barce. So I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into 11 episodes of BPM Tech.
Indeed.
Chris and I would greatly appreciate it if you could rate and review us on iTunes and the Google Play Store. We are on both. And also we are on Spreaker, Stitcher Smart Radio, and also SoundCloud. So there is plenty of places where you can get your daily or weekly dose of BPM. I'm AJ Barce.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks so much for joining us here on BPM Tech.